Apple's upcoming iPhone 17 has surfaced in the most Apple way possible, not via a flashy keynote tease or a tidy supply chain leak, but through Apple's own internal system files. References buried in kernel debug code, the kind of low-level material that rarely escapes Cupertino, are now painting a clear picture of where the E-series is headed. And the story is less about flashy headlines and more about choices, what Apple includes, what it withholds, and where it chooses to wait, before we get into screens and cameras. It's obvious the iPhone 17 is being shaped behind the scenes by silicon decisions, wireless capabilities, and a finely calibrated approach to product segmentation. Apple's modem shakeup. Progress with a quiet catch leak. Internal references indicate the iPhone 17 will ship with Apple's C1X cellular modem, an iteration on the custom modem that debuted with the iPhone 16 family. On the surface, that's a win. Less reliance on Qualcomm, tighter hardware-software integration, better efficiency, and a cleaner path to Apple's long-term silicon independence. But there's a notable omission. The iPhone 17 East appears to skip Apple's N1 wireless chipset, which likely means no thread networking support. For most buyers, that won't sting on day one. For smart home enthusiasts, building Matter-based ecosystems, or anyone eyeing future Apple Home expansions, it's a meaningful limitation. The full ecosystem experience remains a privilege of higher tiers. It's classic Apple. Protect the product ladder without shouting about it. MagSafe returns and fixes a misstep on a brighter note. It looks like Apple is undoing one of the most puzzling choices it made with the iPhone 16e. The 17e is expected to bring back magnetic wireless charging, strongly suggesting a full MagSafe return. Whether Apple caps this at 15 West or pushes toward 25W, the impact is huge. Compatibility with magnetic wallets, chargers, stands, and battery packs, and a phone that feels like part of the modern iPhone ecosystem again. Sometimes the smartest upgrade is correcting a mistake. Display story. Simple at a glance. Nuanced in reality. Early reports from Korea suggest an OLED panel with slimmer bezels and roots in earlier generation hardware, raising fears of Apple repackaging old parts. Look closer, and the picture shifts. Apple is already mass-producing 6.1-inch OLED panels with slim borders for the iPhone 16. The most logical move for cost and scale isn't regression. It's reuse. Expect the iPhone 17e to adopt the iPhone 16 display architecture rather than a dated panel. If that's true, one change becomes almost certain. Goodbye, notch. The iPhone 16's panel supports a dynamic island, which the 17 East would inherit by default. Reintroducing a notch will require unnecessary tooling and complexity, something Apple avoids unless forced. Moving the 17e to the dynamic island immediately modernizes its look and reduces the budget iPhone stigma without blurring lines with the flagships. Segmentation still rules. Modern. Not premium. Even with these improvements, don't expect Apple to collapse the distance between its tiers. The iPhone 17 East is unlikely to get the ultra-thin bezels of the flagship iPhone 17 models. Borders will be a touch thicker, proportions familiar. And the display will look current without threatening the premium lineup. And yes, the refresh rate is expected to stay at 60 Hz. In a world where many mid-range phones boast 90 Hz or 120 Hz, Apple continues to treat promotion as a premium differentiator. A 120 Hz panel would collapse perceived differences with the standard iPhone 17. Apple won't do that. In 2026, 60 Hz may feel conservative, but it perfectly serves Apple's strategy, spring launch window, shifting the narrative multiple. Reliable leakers now point to a spring launch likely, March or April, rather than Apple's traditional September window. That timing matters. By moving the 17 East away from the flagship stage, Apple reduces direct comparison pressure. The device reads as practical and well-positioned. not as a compromise alternative standing next to cutting-edge models. It also acknowledges a lesson from the iPhone 16e. The product wasn't a failure, but it wasn't a hit either. It replaced the Say with something more modern, but also more expensive. At $599, it left true budget territory and landed in a tricky middle. Sales were solid, but the identity was muddled. The 17e has a clearer mission, a 19-chip. No compromise where longevity matters, perhaps the smartest decision here. The iPhone 17 East is expected to ship with the A19 chipset matching the standard iPhone 17. That single choice matters more than cosmetic tweaks. The latest silicon means longer software support, sustained performance over years, better energy efficiency, and fewer compromises as apps evolve. Apple could have cut costs with an older chip. Choosing a 19 signals, a phone built to age gracefully, and that should translate into strong battery life as well. Front camera, meaningful everyday gains. The iPhone 17e is tipped to inherit an 18MP front camera from the standard iPhone 17, complete with center stage style auto framing support. Expect sharper selfies, better low-light performance, more reliable framing and landscape orientation, and improved video call quality. It's a small spec shift that pays off in daily use. Rear camera, one great sensor over many mediocre on-is in the back. Apple keeps things focused, a single 48MP camera with no ultra-wide or telephoto. On paper, that sounds restrictive. In practice, Apple's computational photography often allows a single high-quality sensor to outperform phones that stack multiple average cameras. For the 17e's audience, this setup prioritizes consistency, reliability, and image quality over spec sheet padding. Design refinements. Comfort meets clarity. Expect subtle but welcome physical changes. Softer, more rounded edges inspired by the iPhone 15 should replace harsher, flat-sided ergonomics, improving comfort during long sessions. Pair that with slimmer bezels and a brighter OLED panel that could reach up to 2,000 nits outdoors. And the 17e should feel cleaner and more premium, without pretending to be a flagship. Connectivity, still strategically restrained. C1X modem represents genuine progress, delivering stronger efficiency and improved real-world speeds. But without the N1 wireless chipset, the 17e likely misses Thread support, echoing Apple's pattern of protecting the top of the lineup. Most users won't notice now. Power users, smart home builders, and future-proofing shoppers will dot price and storage. The last big question's pricing isn't locked, but $599 remains the most likely starting point. If Apple holds there, the older iPhone 16 could slide down in price ironically, becoming a compelling alternative for some buyers. As for storage, rumors of a 256GB base exist, but Apple's history suggests the 17e starts at 128GB to preserve tier separation. There's room for surprise, but don't bank on it. Where the iPhone 170 lands and why it matters. iPhone 17e isn't chasing splashy headlines. It's engineered to be sensible. It fixes nearly every major complaint about the 16E's brighter OLED display, dynamic island, MagSafe's return, a stronger front camera, the latest A19 chip, and better in-hand comfort while preserving Apple's carefully tiered strategy. This isn't a dramatic reinvention. It's a calculated refinement that finally gives the E-series a clear identity, modern, reliable, and built to last without pretending to be a flagship. And for a lot of buyers, that's exactly the point.